Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a MindWeaver FROSTVEIL Sage build guide in Baldur's Gate 3. This is the newest subclass added to the MindWeaver class, made by ZX10RX, and the FROSTVEIL Sage is really interesting. It's in the lore. They started off as Astral Seers, but branched off and kind of started their own thing. They do wield a staff infused with Celestial Frost, and they have the ability to punch and deal cold damage, and this is cool because you can freeze enemies solid. So a lot of cool cantrips and spells with this. You get the Frostbite enclosure here, so you can amplify the accumulated Frostbite stacks on a target, encasing them in solid ice. If they become frozen, they become vulnerable for force, bludgeoning, and thunder damage, and anytime you deal that damage, they'll be shattered. So you can hit them with a really strong force damage or thunder or bludgeoning attack, and they'll get blasted into and lose the frost, but deal double damage. We also got the, we can punch the target, dealing 1d4 cold or bludgeoning damage plus half dexterity modifier, and these are used as a bonus action and start to scale up to 1d8. You also get the Icy Finesse, so the mastery of Celestial Frost is refined movements. The passive allows the Sage to use dexterity instead of strength for all weapons that are proficient in, and unarmed strike to accept heavy weapons. We also have the Ice Forged, which hardened by the freezing environments that they traversed, their new form radiates a natural resilience, granting armor class from their intelligence modifier. So it's removed if you wear armor or shields. And you also get the Frostbite. So whenever you increase their vulnerability to cold damage and all other spells which do not inflict Frostbite, deal 1 to 4 cold damage at 4 stacks, scaling based on your character level. At 8 or more stacks, the next cold damage they take is doubled to 2d8 or 2d4, and skills of Frostbite. This allows you to also use the Frostbite enclosure to freeze targets. So this will apply stacks with your spells, and we get to choose cantrips. You can get all of these, but we'll start off with the Frostbite Touch, doing 1d6 of cold damage and applies 4 stacks of Frostbite. And the Glacial Arc, which hits in a arcing range. This Icy Slash cleaves through multiple enemies, dealing 1d6 of cold damage and leaving Shimmering Trail of Frost and 2 turns of Frostbite. There's also the FROSTVEIL Fracture, which we'll get to in a moment. As for ability scores, 16 Dex, 14 Constitution, 16 Intelligence, 10 Wisdom, 10 Charisma, and skill proficiency in Persuasion is most optimal. I'll also be covering gear for this build, as well as a combat guide to show you how to make the most out of using this. Now, what's cool about this is you got a lot of subclass features. So we get the Iceborne Mastery. So this allows us control over spells, allows us to cast range spells with even in melee range without getting disadvantage. So if you're doing any spell casting, you can do it right close range. We also get the Mind Surge, which is similar to all the other MindWeaver abilities, and we get the Chiromancer's Reach. So by extending your mastery over frost magic, enhance the range of your FROSTVEIL spells by using Mind Surge. When enabled, certain spells gain 18 meters range, amplifying control over the battlefield with precision and reach. You also get to pick 2 spells, and they got a lot of good ones. First is Chirothermal Siphon, which grants you 3 armor class. You shoot 3 beams, and it's reduced by 1 every time you are attacked. This relentless frost beam continually drains the targets, reducing their movement speed, and deals 1d4 cold damage each terminal concentration or connection exists. There's also the Hypothermic Collapse, 3d6 cold damage, induces a chilling condition which frost permeates the target's body. When the target's health falls below 10%, the frost overtakes them entirely, freezing their blood and body. This shatters in a violent explosion, releasing deadly frost shards that deal 3 to 18 cold damage to all enemies within 3 meters. There's also the Frigid Burst, so project an intense surge of celestial frost, releasing in a cone, kind of like cone of cold. This freezing blast crystallizes the air, turning water surfaces into ice, enveloping everyone in a biting cold, dealing 3 to 12 cold damage, and applies 4 stacks of frostbite. The Frozen Solace, so this in case the target enemy or ally in celestial frost, freezing them in place and rendering them incapacitated, but healing them 1d8 of healing per turn. In the gain 2 armor class. When the cast on the self, the Sage gains 2 armor class, reduced movement speed, and 1 to 4 healing, but ability to fully attack and cast spells. There's also the Glacial Spear, which is a cold attack, kind of similar to Ice Knife. Obviously, the image is similar. The icy weapon strikes the chilling force, doing 4 to 16 cold damage, and leaving the target bleeding as the shards of frostbite deep into their flesh. This absorbs and removes frostbite, dealing additional cold damage. And then there's the Permafrost Monolith, so create a tower of eternal ice that erupts from the ground, dealing 1 to 6 cold damage each turn. After 4 turns, the monolith crumbles into shards, releasing a freezing cloud lingers in the area, applies 2 stacks of freezing or frostbite. I like the Hypothermic Collapse here because you can make it explode and deal damage to targets. And the Frigid Burst is nice too for the extra damage, so we're going to go with those 2 first here. You do get some more spells, so don't you worry. At level 3, you get a class feature. Whenever you use Mind Surge, you can use a bonus action to levitate and fly. And we get the subclass Frost Incarnate. So This form, your physical presence becomes insubstantial, reducing the damage from attacks by 1d4 plus intelligence modifier as they momentarily embody the icy essence of frost. Skills with character level. And we can take our last cantrip here, which is the Frostveil Fracture. Does 1d8 cold damage. Absorb and removes frostbite, dealing additional cold damage. And if you use Mind Surge, you'll knock the target prone. So that's really nice for just being able to crowd control a little bit. We now get some class passives with the Chilling Backdraft here. So this is a retaliate with a frigid beam of cold energy, streaming away towards the caster as a spell strikes the target, dealing blank. On impact, the target and the frost remnants are pulled back towards the stage, can be used as a reaction, but will cost Mind Surge and will inflict crippled. Absorbs and removes frost by dealing additional damage. There's, I think, a little bit of an issue with the typing there. Draws strength. The frost empowerment draws strength from the icy terrain beneath you, applying your frost magic with a surge of celestial energy. When standing on a frozen surface, the stage's spells deal an additional 1d4 of cold damage, and this icy synergy enhances the destructive potential, making the Frostville Sage a force to be reckoned with in the frost-covered terrain. Chill Stride. Staying on top of frozen surfaces allows you to move quickly, while on ice to become immune to be knocked prone and gain 5 meters increased jump distance, embodying the fluidity of frost themselves. And the Fleet of Mind, so increases your movement distance by 3 meters and your jump distance by 1.5. I think the Chill Stride is the best, just to be able to prevent yourself from slipping on the ice, because that is, I guess, the biggest downside to using cold is slipping around. So you can have someone else using your cold Nere's Disintegrating Nightwalkers boots. Now we get some level 2 spells here with the Celestial Frost Wave. So with a commanding gesture, the Frostveil Sage channels a torrent of celestial frost energy, dealing a massive wage of cold, dealing 4 to 16 cold damage to enemies. Applies 4 stacks of frostbite. Frigid Domain. This summons a chilling frigid air, and all inside the domain take 1d10 of cold damage, and their movement slowed. 2 stacks of frostbite. And then there's the Rime Beacon, 2d6 of cold damage, and the Icy Beacon follows the target wherever they move, dealing cold damage each turn. Nearby enemies are also chilled by its presence, taking 2 to 12 cold damage as it radiates out. I think the best ones are Celestial Frost Wave and the Rime Beacon. For our feat, we're going to go with an intelligence improvement to take it to 18 there. That's just going to be the best choice. At level 5, we get the Frost Weaver, so mastering the balance of frost magic and martial combat. The Frostville Sage seamlessly weaves spells and strikes. After casting a spell or cantrip, they can deliver a swift melee attack as a bonus action, and Chillbound Strike as a free action to ensure their Ice Wrath remains unrelenting in both magic and melee. We're going to choose another spell here. You can go with like one of the lower level spells, and there's even, I guess I missed this one, Cryogenic Core, 3d6 cold damage, hurling a frost orb. This orb then deflects to 2 additional targets. And then we also got ourselves Winter Mantle, which gives resist. Within the radius of this icy mantle, allies are resistant to cold damage, and their attacks are imbued with cold energy. So a full-on cold team you can do. I think the orb is the best choice there. At level 6, we get ourselves a class passive, and I think at this point it's best to go with the Frozen Empowerment, which is going to buff you up and deal additional cold damage when we stand on ice, and we don't have to worry about standing on ice, so that's the perfect thing about that. At level 7, we get to choose level 3 spells now with the Frostveil Singularity. So this summons a swirling frost core that draws inward, draws in air, condensing it into an icy energy before erupting in a powerful frost explosion, dealing 6 to 36 cold damage to all nearby targets. And then the Kyrostar Descent, so calling upon celestial frost realms, the Frostveil Sage summons icy beams to descend from the heavens, striking the targets for 6 to 36 cold damage. These frigid rays leave a shimmer of frost in its wake. So we're going to go with both level 3 spells. It'll deal additional damage if the target has frostbite. At level 8, we get to choose another spell here, so we can go with one of the previous ones, like Glacial Spear here. And then for our feat, another improvement to our intelligence, just gives us better armor class and better spell casting, so that just makes sense. Once we get to level 9, we get to choose 2 more spells, so I think Frigid Domain, and we can go with the Serothymal Siphon there is a good choice. At level 10, we get to choose another spell here, so Winter's Mail not crazy good, but we'll take that there. And then once we get to level 11, we get another class passive, with the Chilling Backdraft being a good choice here, so this can be cast a reaction. The Fleet of Mind is nice for extra movement speed, but this gives us another nice spell here, and we can use this as a bonus action, or a reaction as well. And at level 12, we get ourselves to choose one more spell, and we have to take another feat, which I think the best choice is probably take up Dexterity, or go with the Alert feat, but Dexterity give us better armor class and better melee attacks. So you can see we got a lot of unique spells. Another thing is, if you got the mod that adds in extra items, I think that there's a good choice here with the I can't find it right now, but there is a Frostveil staff that you can use. I forget the mod. I think it's Treasure Trove has a Frostveil staff. But for our gear, I think the Mask of Soul Perception works well for the increased attack rolls and initiative. Cloak Protection, the Evasive Shoes, and the Ring of Protection for a nice higher armor class of 24, which is adding +5 from our intelligence modifier. You can also take off the Evasive Shoes, and we can also use, if you want to buff up your punches, you can go with the Boots of Uninhibited Kashigo, which will add additional wisdom modifier to our arm strikes, but our wisdom's not that high, so it's not super useful, but it's still another thing you can go with if you got like a mod that adds more damage. I go with the Gloves of Soul Catching because this will give us additional Constitution, which we're using this, so it doesn't really matter. But if you don't want to use the Amulet of Greater Health, you can put this on someone else. But with this, this will give us +2 Constitution and deal additional damage with our punches, so that's really nice. As for armor, I think the best choice is actually to go with the Vest of Soul Rejuvenation. This just makes sense here. This will give us a 24 armor class and also gives us a reaction to punch our targets with this. So you get that Greater Kashigo counter, +2 armor class. I'm also going with the Morning Frost Staff. This deals additional 1 cold damage and can apply chilled whenever you do cold damage, and it gives you Ray of Frost. So pretty effective there. And yeah, this looks really nice too with all the armor and the gear we got going on. So I'll show off what we're going to be doing in combat here to give you an idea of what this class can do. So when we're in combat, there's a few spells that are nice to set up with. I really like the Hypothermic Collapse, as whenever you take out whoever has that applied to them, they're going to explode with ice. So that'll deal damage in an area of effect. So you can go ahead and apply that to a target that's close to another one. And then you can go ahead with some of your other attacks here. You also get that free cold punch too. So that's pretty great. We can see some of these spells have a very large area of effect, which is perfect. So I'm just going to start off by throwing that. You can also turn on the Iceborne Mastery. Oh, I did not mean to do that. And that'll let you cast your spells with disadvantage, and you'll still be able to use certain spells with at close range without getting disadvantage. Don't know how I managed a critical miss there. I'm just going to eat that opportunity attack to get into a better position. I guess that was pointless. I'll just go punch him, and hopefully we can take him out. Not very likely. Grasp in essence, immune to prone. So then you also got your alternate follow-up main hand attack that you can go with, so we can follow up with that. Boom, and that's the ice explosion there. As you can see, we took out 4 of them with that, so perfect. That's exactly what we want to have happen. So yeah, we'll just let everyone else take their turns, and I'll just continue this in a moment. So again, we can follow with that Hypothermic Collapse here and put that on a squishier target, and that's going to make them explode whenever we hit them with one of our more powerful attacks. Like we have this Gale attack here, which will hit in a range. The Galactic Arc, I should say. Frigid Burst is also quite nice. It's almost like a Cone of Cold type spell, so I'll hit him with that. And that made a big cold explosion around us, so that took out all of those there. And then we also got the ability to follow up with like a punch attack, so we can go ahead with that and do our punchy, and then do our attack with our staff so that we get a few extra attacks off, and that was just enough to push them over the edge. Perfect. This isn't my normal encounter. I'm having weird issues with my game not loading in any enemies, but it'll load enemies here, so that's why we're fighting against a bunch of brains. But yeah, some of the other spells, the Frostveil Singularity here, you're going to see, we'll just drop that down on the enemy. And the Frostblade stacks are interesting because whenever you apply the stacks, you can freeze the target and then hit him with like your melee attack or a force attack. If you got someone with like a heavy force, you can go ahead with one of those. And yeah, there's a variety of different spells here. The Frostblade Enclosure is that ability to freeze the target. So I guess we'll go ahead here with Rhyme Beacon, and we'll drop that down in there. Cool animations for these spells too. That's one of the things I really like about this mod, is just the interesting animations that you got. So boom, critical hit them, perfect. And I can follow it up with another Frost Punch, Chillbound Strike to attack another target, maybe take them out. Perfect, that was awesome. Knocked out Gale too. So you can see we're making a bunch of ice surfaces too, which is perfect. So that'll just continue to create some crowd control for us. Anytime that you do cold damage, we have the Snowburst Ring. It'll create that the ice surfaces on the ground, which is perfect. So that's really nice for just, I guess, crowd control in addition to the damage that we deal. So the Frigid Domain's pretty cool. I'll just drop this down right here. So it creates like this icy surface that this icy area, which you can just let them stack up the Frostblade stacks with. and just go about your day attacking. Oh, that took out double, and then we'll go with the punch here. That should hopefully take them out. Boom, that was it. Nice. So yeah, as you can see, got a lot of cold spells for crowd control damage, and you can do some extra attacks too. So this is really cool. Just wanted to cover the Frostveil Sage. I was asked to cover this, and yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video.